All right. Dead and buried. Flat out. Dead and buried. All right. So, movie directed by Dan O'Bannon. He's most known for writing Alien. Big classic film. Also wrote, an underrated movie to me, which is Dark Star. That was like his first film. John Carpenter directed that one. Pretty underrated movie. I enjoy that one a lot. But here he's going for a kind of different film. This is more of like a Stephen King esque, intriguing suspense film. The reason why this movie reminded me so much of Stephen King is that it's about a police chief who comes from the city and discovers that this small town has some deep, dark conspiracy going on. And no, this is not Hot Fuzz. This is what Hot Fuzz was kind of parodying, this type of plot, which has been a little overdone, but this movie does a lot to stand out. But unfortunately, I thought the movie was a bit of a flat line. Positives with the film, I like the tone of the film. It's a very slow-paced movie. It's a very suspenseful movie. And that couldn't have come at a better time, because these zombie movies like Zombie-thon and Dawn of the Dead, they're getting more and more outrageous. And it felt good to see one that took it back a little slower and slowed it down. So for that, it's unique. The setting of the film, very effective as well. It makes for some good scares. The movie takes place in like a boat town. It's very damp, very foggy, very muggy, very cold. Whenever there would be scenes in abandoned houses and stuff like that, there's fog, so you can't really tell what's going on. And you see something move in the background, you're like, fuck, is that a fucking zombie there? Is that a fucking arm? Is that a fucking arm or a head? So it makes for some pretty good scares in that regard. The music in this film is fantastic. That opening score during the opening credits was very good. Most 80s and late 70s movies over-relied on synth scores, which I do enjoy, but it felt good to break that pace and have like a nice orchestral score. That opening is just beautiful, had a sexy saxophone thrown in there. It sounded sexier. There's some pretty effective kills in this movie that catch you off guard. There's one with the village drunk. He gets slashed in the fucking face!
Smile.
Very frightening scene. You feel bad. He's just the village drunk. Leave him the fuck alone. And not only that scene, but there's another really effective scene, and that's the facial reconstruction scene. Really good VFX in that scene. Not in every scene. I'll point that out later. But in that scene, it worked. Performances were all really good. No complaints there. The sound in this movie is pretty good too. So since this takes place in a boat town, whenever it's dark at night or something like that, all you hear is like boat sirens. But yeah, it was really effective in that regard too. So I'd say all of the individual components of this film work. Where it really falls apart is the screenplay. Right off the bat, you kind of know what's going on in this small town. There's zombies. They're coming back from the dead. If you didn't figure that out, well, sorry, but this is Zombie-thon and I'm reviewing a movie. So there's zombies in this movie. And they're kind of like culty zombies. Not quite your traditional zombie. That's what's going on in this whole town, and you kind of deduce it pretty early on in the film. The main character doesn't know the conspiracy. and what's going on in this town. So the whole movie, he's piecing together, he's taking pieces of the puzzle, putting it together, trying to see the big picture, and you're just kind of waiting for him to figure it out. He's like, I saw that guy before, and the audience is just like, yeah, no shit, like we all did too. They kind of told us the movie. The movie kind of spoiled itself. It would have been really cool if the zombie aspect to this movie was a bit more of a twist ending, but that's not what's going on. It's really unfortunate because had the twist of this movie been like, oh yeah, it's a fucking zombie ghost town, that would have been cool. But they spoil the movie, and the whole movie you're just waiting for this protagonist to figure shit out. A little frustrating. That basically made me lose interest in the movie. I said there's one scene where the VFX are pretty bad. That's the scene where they take a guy and they put like some weird chemical in his face. It's obviously a guy in a rubber mask.
No, don't do it. No.
I usually like my campy visual effects, and I'm more forgiving of campy visual effects when it belongs in a campy movie. But this is going for a more mysterious, somber Stephen King vibe. When you see a campy visual effect, it does not belong in that kind of movie. It takes you out of the movie. It's a different era. I'm more forgiving. But you know what? 1981, like that year had some better visual effects than 2020, in my opinion. Alien came out 2 years earlier. The Thing came out 1 year later. And this movie did have a lower budget, but it could have cut some corners to prevent taking you out of the film. Instead of having a rubber mask, maybe like cut away, cut back to him with more severe injuries, cut away, cut back to him with even more injuries, something like that. The rubber mask just took me right out of it. It was bad. This movie has some interesting elements, but its most interesting element, it chooses to cut to black and roll credits right as it's happening. So, spoiler alert, the protagonist gets buried. He manages to escape being buried, and he's running around trying to catch people until he realizes, oh wait, no, I'm a fucking zombie. That's fucking terrifying. It's like a Bruce Willis in Sixth Sense twist ending. But they cut to black right as it happens. He like looks at his hand and his fucking finger falls off, and he's like, oh wait. Like that was the only part of the movie that took me off guard, because I've never seen a zombie movie do that. First of all, I've never seen a zombie movie where the man didn't realize he was turning into a zombie, so that was pretty cool. And also, I would have liked to see like a zombie transformation kind of thing. Just like how an American Werewolf in London had that cool werewolf transformation scene. I would have liked to see that, but zombie version, but it just cut to black. So if there's anyone who's trying to find a new cool pitch idea, basically make an American Werewolf in London, but have it with a zombie, where a character is slowly becoming a zombie, and he's becoming a reject of society because his limbs are falling apart and no one wants to catch his disease. Booyah! $1 billion idea. You better put me in the credits if Blumhouse decides to buy that movie. It wasn't my idea, it was Dead and Barry's idea, but I just took it and expanded upon it. So yeah, the most interesting aspect of the film, they cut to black on. I was like, come on, that's the best shit. For those reasons, I don't dock points for that reason. It's more so like I didn't find interest in the narrative. This movie to me was a bit of a flat line. It lacked some ups and downs, some twists and turns. So overall, I'm giving the movie a 5 because the elements that do stick out as good are truly good. So if you're into that kind of Stephen King movie, this is a good family film too, like something you can pop up at Thanksgiving, the family's around. I don't think it would like offend anyone or make anyone upset that they watched it. It's a cool kind of a Stephen King movie. Only not by Stephen King. So yeah, check it out if you're interested, but if you're thinking of skipping out on it, you should probably do so. It might not be for you. Alright, stay tuned. More great zombie movies coming up!
The movie you'll want to see if you dare to look.